Remember, my Patreon supporters got to see previews and work in progress shots of this figures as I worked on it. If you want to join them, all you gotta do is donate even the smallest amount. Link is in the description below. Hello out there, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with the newest commission. This is for Ryanic, and it is Kragok from the Dark Legion. You know what? I just gotta come up with this. What the heck is up with Echidna names? Like, male Echidnas have pretty straightforward names. You have Knuckles, Remington, Locke, Kragok, Pachacamac. Okay, maybe that last one's not so straightforward, but you know, like all of the Echidna females seem to have like these pseudo-Japanese sounding hyphenated names, like Janie Ka, Lara Sue, Mari Ann, Lien Da. Like what's up with that? Like what? And like, given how Knuckles' daughter is named Lara Sue, which apparently she inherited a name from Julie Sue, that mean, like, do they find some kind of matrilineal name passing on thing? Like, what is up with that? Like, don't you guys think that's weird? And it's funny that for all the years the comic ran, I never really thought to question it until now. Or was it something that they actually explained in the Knuckles comic? Because I admit, I never actually really got to read that much of the Knuckles comic because my store never really kept it in stock. Oh, well, sorry about that little non sequitur, but I guess that's as good a transition as any to get into Kragok's backstory. Let's see, Kragok was introduced in the Knuckles spin-off comic, of course. I believe the excuse was that when the Ultimate Annihilator, which went off in Sonic the Hedgehog issue 50, weakened the barriers between dimensions, the Dark Legion was allowed free access to the actual world of Mobius Prime. Although they didn't call it Mobius Prime back then. And they were able to, like, invade. Now, again, like I said, I didn't really get a chance to read the Knuckles comic, yeah. So I don't know all the full details, but this guy was basically a ruthless military leader, and yes, I think he was the twin brother of the infamous Lien Da from a previous custom video that I made. And well, let's just say that this rotten fruit didn't fall very far from the tree that Lien Da fell from, because he was every bit the bastard that she was. I mean, like, remember how Lien Da killed her own father so that she and her brother could ascend and become the new rulers of the Dark Legion? Yeah, he kind of gave her the experimental weapon that would blow up in her face, so he intentionally put his own sister in a coma. Of course, when you're part of a murder plot when you murder your own father to ascend in the ranks, and kill your stepmom and brainwash your little sister out of little more than spite, really not gonna think that they're gonna try and high road anything here. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, they never really made any attempts to humanize this guy. Like, even Lien Da had some moments where she wasn't complete and utter monster, just mostly one, but I don't think that we ever had a moment for Kragok where we could ever really feel too much sympathy for him. And, okay, look, I just gotta bring it up. Kragok, what the hell were you thinking when you got that cybernetic arm? I mean, really, did did you really think that claw thing would actually be in any way intimidating? Like, oh yes, when I get my cybernetic limb, I'll have this triple claw thing going on, and it will make people fear me. Yes, I can't possibly see a design that's more intimidating than this robot claw hand. Because, yeah, like, that looks like the least effective limb you could possibly have attached to your arm. Like, like it looks every bit as stupid as those little as that dude from the Family Guy cutaway gag with the little claw hands. Yeah, you look that stupid, Kragok. It looks like I would be afraid to hand something to you because I'm afraid you're just gonna drop it. Well, okay, so aside from the stupid robot hand he gave himself, Kragok actually was supposedly a pretty competent and ruthless military leader. Although he would capitulate and advocate his seat on the throne, as it were, to Dimitri, the first Enerjack, when he returned. Because remember, Dimitri and Edmund were brothers, and Edmund was the first guardian, and Dimitri's son was the founder of the Dark Legion. So, of course, this is basically like your he's basically their ancestor. They're all his descendants in a way. I mean, when you go that many generations, yeah, you can have quite a few descendants. So, yeah, it's for many of them it would be quite distant, but I'm pretty sure almost every Echidna in the Dark Legion had some genetic relation to the original Enerjack. So yeah, my grandpa is now my boss. Now, middle. Kragok was one of the few characters in the Archieverse to actually feature an on-screen death. Yeah, this didn't really happen very often. I think less than 10 characters actually died when we could see it. I mean, over the course of the comics run, a lot of people would die off screen, but Kragok, along with one of the former Guardians, Tobor, both met their fate at the end of a battle where the Dark Legion was going to fire an experimental weapon called the Quantum Cannon, which, given that name, it can't possibly do anything good. Tobor, upon being freed from the Twilight Zone cage, or whatever they called it, forced them to crash into the weapon, killing them both and destroying it, saving the day. And that was the end of Kragok's reign. I don't know if Dimitri was depowered at this point because, like I said, didn't actually read the comic. But yeah, this is his death and the eventual dethroning of Dimitri, aka Enerjack, is what would eventually lead to Lienda becoming the Grand Master of the Dark Legion, and I already covered all that. So this has gone on for quite a bit, so let's actually get to making the toy itself before you guys click off the video. Kragok is an Echidna, and he still resembles Knuckles, so this means the base figure is going to be Knuckles, methodically dismantled as far as I can, do, and he would use all the parts except, of course, for the left hand and the shoes. So let's start with the head. Having the skull cap removed made it easy to sculpt Kragok's cybernetic eye in place, and also paint it silver, although I would have to cut off all of his Echidna dreads so that I could sculpt in the hood. Because Ryanic wanted Kragok to be wearing his hood, even though he has occasionally been depicted out of it. Given the nature of the action figure, this could not be made as a soft good removable piece because you know how Echidna dreads go. The hand was pretty simple. I just had to cut in the index finger because although the artwork has varied, the look that we decided to go with for this custom was the big three-fingered mitten, where the index finger is separate but the other fingers are all just covered in one thing. Although it does look like he has 3 fingers in most scenes. I don't know if that's because of a birth deformity, or because like he lost some, like with maybe he accidentally like tried to pent his fingers and stab them off with that stupid claw hand of his, or maybe it's just because the artist didn't really realize that Echidnas are supposed to have 5 fingers like everybody else because Knuckles always wore mittens all the time. Here are the arms. You can see the left one has the hand sculpted in, and yes, the fingers are made out of Tails' bangs. I used some soft goods here. The robe is made out of a trick-or-treat bag, one of the canvas types, which creates the illusion of Kragok's tattered robe sleeves without, affecting the figure's articulation. As for the robe part that he's wearing, just sculpted it onto his chest along with a little belt thing because that's not too big a deal. And I had to swap out the feet with Sonic shoes because Kragok has much more pointier feet, although I did sculpt the little bands. I don't know if it's supposed to be like layered armor on his shoes or if it's just wrapped around with a bandage, but either way the look is kind of preserved this way. Now, a little bit of a complicated part was making the lower part of his robe. The part that hangs below his waist. I used a similar technique to the shirt tails from the Nicole figure I made a while ago, except this time it's of course made out of the same soft goods that I used to make the sleeves, and it's designed to wrap completely around him instead of only his back. Those two middle holes are where the waist peg goes, and the two exterior holes are, to accommodate his tail. It's kind of awkward the way I had to kind of wrap it around, kind of glue it into place, cut slits up to make sure the legs could still move. Let's just take a look at the completed figure, and you'll see what I did. And there you go. Yeah, it's starting to make a little bit more sense now, huh? Only thing is that Sonic's feet don't really play with Knuckles' legs so much, because Knuckles has more of a sculpted-in A stance than Sonic does, so the feet don't want to be flat. But still, the figure stands pretty well, and if you want to put him in a more dynamic bent knee pose, then you can use the ankle swivel still, so you should be able to stand him in a variety of poses if you really want to. And, yeah, aside from the asymmetrical design where the left half of his body looks distinctly different from the right half of his body because of the cybernetics, that's a pretty darn good looking Kragok, if I do say so myself. Just weird how strangely elongated an Echidna head looks once you cut off the dreads. Think that that's just something that I don't think too much about. But he's still Kragok, and it's, Kragok has a pretty nifty design, even if it is a little bit, cyberpunk cultish thing going on. Then again, a cyberpunk cult is basically what they were going for, isn't it? So, yep, we have these siblings reunited, and I think I gotta make a Julie Sue? Not sure. We'll find out later. This is Wake Angel 2001, signing off.